Hey everybody, welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020. I am the Dean, and man, am I psyched. Look, my boys, on a personal note, we got to start this off. Down 17-0. Come back 27 unanswered points. Look, I know a lot of you from the Washington Nation out there were panicking in the first half. You're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. We're going to have to suffer through a whole another season. Hold on, wait a minute. Remember, this is Jack Del Rio. This is Riverboat Ron Rivera we're talking about. This is my pick for Coach of the Year. I made this back months ago when I made my bold prediction show. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out and see how right I'm going to be. Look, I know I'm not going to get them all right, but this one is looking good so far. Down 17-0, come back 27 unanswered points. Look, Dwayne Haskins makes a passionate halftime speech to the team. Everything turns around. They make adjustments. They go back and they stop the Eagles cold. Look, did Carson Wentz come out and just totally go off? Yes, he did. Is Dwayne Haskins a fantasy beast? No, he's not. Did Scary Terry McLaurin live up to the name? No. But did Washington get the win? Yes, we did. So it's been a good day. The Cowboys took an L. Washington took a W. All is good and all is right in the world. And listen, we're here today to talk about the overreaction everybody's going to have week one. Look, there were some guys that overachieved. There were some guys that underachieved. And there were some guys that did pretty much what you drafted them to do. Okay? So we're going to kick this off with a quarterback position. Look, there was a lot of just outlandish performances on both sides of the equation here, okay? Russell Wilson, 322, 4 TDs against Atlanta. Now, look, this isn't something that's going to happen all the time. He gets 39 fantasy points on most platforms, unless you have custom scoring. But listen, this is what Russell Wilson will do for you, okay? You will have these games where he throws over 300 yards, he throws 4 TDs. You're going to have some games where he throws maybe 2, maybe rush for another. You don't know. But take the good, but I want you to remember this was against Atlanta, okay? Another guy. And this one, it might be what we're going to see from Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Look, it was his neighborhood all this weekend. 364 for 4 TDs and 38 fantasy points against a Vikings defense that's not far removed from being one of the top defenses in the league. Yes, they've lost some pieces. Yes, they've made some new additions, so they need some time to figure things out. And if you guys remember back when we had the work stoppage, when we had to shorten preseason, a lot of your offenses were clicking a lot better than your defenses. So some of these figures out here, you're going to see some of these defenses that you thought were going to be just lights out, shutting people down, that doesn't come to fruition until later in the year. So temper your expectations with Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, maybe just a bit, or those going against the Vikings. They might see a different result here in the next couple of weeks as they get things together. My boy, Lamar Jackson, defending MVP, ranks up there, 275, 3 touchdowns. Yes, it's against the Browns, but we saw what Lamar was doing. We saw him looking good. Same thing with Russell. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. Look, these top 3 quarterbacks, these are guys that you expect to be here. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to pull up the screen and I'm going to show you who we don't expect to be here in the quarterback position, okay? So let's check this out. As I said, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, you see at the top. Here are 2 guys that you maybe didn't expect to see. That would be Josh Allen and Mitch Trubisky. Yes, I said it. Mitch Trubisky. I am projecting for him to be yanked by week 4. Now, this performance might just have bought him a couple of more weeks, but look who is it against. It's against Detroit. Detroit is horrible, absolutely horrible defense. Trubisky goes out, throws 242 and 3 TDs. Look, there wasn't that many rushing yards. He only had 26. Josh Allen up there with against the Jets. Again, it's the Jets, guys. It's Buffalo's defense and the Jets. They put Allen in really good position to perform the way he performed. 312, 2 touchdowns, 57 rushing yards, and a TD on the ground. Look, if you look back last year and you see what Josh Allen did, then you see that this is pretty much what you were looking for, okay? So this is what Josh Allen's expected to do, okay? If he is out there on your waiver wire, which I don't think he will be. Trubisky might be out there, but look, pump the brakes. Please do not make Mitch Trubisky this, waiver wire darling quarterback of the week. You're going to have these weeks. Give it a second. Wait a couple of weeks. Maybe put him on your watch list to see if has Mitch Trubisky turned the corner. We don't know, okay? And we don't really know what Chicago is going to be until they face a defense that's a little bit more formidable than Detroit, okay? We see down here, Kyler Murray had a nice day. 230, had a touchdown, 91 yards and a TD. Matt Ryan had kind of a rough start. Gardner Minshew. Now, look, I don't know how Jacksonville pulls this off for the simple fact that everybody's thinking that they're tanking for Trevor Lawrence coming out of Clemson in the next draft. So I don't think that anybody told Minshew that he's supposed to be losing. He goes out and 173 with 3 TDs. What does that tell me? That tells me that they got the ball in really good field position, because you're not going to get 3 touchdowns and only get 173 yards passing and still come out with a win, okay? Patrick Mahomes, 211, 3 TDs. Look, this is about where you expect your starting quarterback to be, okay? This is pretty much the floor for Pat Mahomes, okay? He's going to be up there in the 3 range. If you drafted him early, as you see, the returning champ, which is my wife's team, she drafted him in the 2nd round, and this is pretty much what you expect. Okay, these 39, 38, 33-point performances by Wilson and Rodgers and Jackson. Look, that's great, and you'll take those when you get them, but don't lean on that, okay? This is pretty much what you expect. What you don't expect, let's go down here. And we see, look, Tom Brady put up about 24 points. And this is one of the examples. I'm going to show you another one. This is one of the examples of a pretty much good, I'm not going to say great, but a good fantasy performance versus what reality is. If you watch this game, if you take away that first drive where Tampa goes down and Brady, falls across the goal line for the touchdown, if you take that away, this was an absolutely horrible performance on both sides of the ball, okay? We're looking here, and we haven't even touched Drew Brees yet, okay? Brees finished with 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. And if you watched the game, you saw how many times he got taken out and how many times Taysom Hill got put in. Not Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill. Hill is the gadget guy, and this is the thing about the New Orleans Saints. And if you watched this show before, and if you are a first time, welcome. Down at the bottom, subscribe, like, and share so you can get all of the fantasy advice you need to help win your championship or at least get you in the playoffs. Okay, guys? We're trying to make you better fantasy players, more aware of your surroundings. And that's what we talk about here is environmental. We talked about environmental drafting, but we're talking about environmental roster management, okay? Because we're in the season. This is the first big day that we've had. So when the Saints are playing for real football. They're playing reality football. They're not playing fantasy football. So Sean Payton does not care that you have Michael Thomas and he barely got used last night. He doesn't care that you drafted Drew Brees as your, starting quarterback and you need him to finish well. He doesn't care. All he cares about is getting that W. So if he gets that W, everything's good. It might not get you that W, though, okay? And these are things that you need to pay attention to. They were playing a Tampa Bay defense that kind of got a little excited. They got a little, full of themselves because they had Tom Brady. They wanted to show off. They wanted to do well. So it's kind of like, if you have, your grandma come to your game and it's the first game she comes to and you want to do really well and you kind of outperform what you've been doing. It's kind of like that. We're going to see, Jimmy G put up decent numbers, and this thing, like I said, Brady put up good numbers, but if you look right above him, you see Cam Newton, his replacement in New England, puts up 155 yards, no touchdowns, but puts up 75 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So these touchdowns are really where, as a quarterback, actually as a fantasy player in general, this is where you're making your money right here. Now, we go down here. We find Drew Brees a couple of slots lower, 160 yards, 2 TDs, no rushing yards, okay? We see Matt Stafford, who was sitting on my bench. I'm the chicken wing, and if you on TikTok, you know the rest of the song. 297, an interception, touchdown, 23 rushing yards. Now, we see Carson Wentz down here. In the very beginning, great. Got 2 TDs, 270 yards, but he's got those 2 INTs. Those INTs take away 4 points. So if you take Winston, you add 4 points, he's up here at 21 points. And he's ranking right below Teddy Bridgewater, who, we saw had a decent showing. But if we go down a little lower, these are some guys. Phillip Rivers, 363, an INT and 2 TDs, okay? 363, just to put this in kind of a perspective of how important scoring touchdowns is. Rodgers had 364 and 3 more touchdowns, okay? So if we take the 16 points and you add another 18 points to that, okay, you're talking he had a 34-point day average. That would have put him at number 3 performer, and this was against Jacksonville's defense. So Phillip Rivers might need to stay on the free agent. He's still a good, viable streaming option, but we need to see when he's going to catch that groove where he starts actually scoring touchdowns, okay? Joe Burrow, look, I don't know why. I guess it's because we were in Louisiana and someone got just overwhelmed with Joe Burrow and just infatuated with him. So they took him as, get this, the first quarterback off the board. Yes, I said it. The first quarterback off the board before Mahomes, before Jackson. 2nd round. Okay. He was picked by a guy from the 9th, sitting at the 9th spot. So, Mr. Nick, president of the Joe Burrow fan club, welcome to fantasy football. Gets him 16 points, and then we just go in a bunch of free agents. You see the FA there, stands for free agent, and some of these guys, you're not going to I mean, somebody might have drafted Baker. Let's look at the next screen and see who we have here. Jared Goff. Here's one that was kind of surprising when I looked at this. Yes, Jared Goff beat Dallas Cowboys. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate it greatly. However, you bombed when it came to performance on fantasy. 10.5 points. That is horrible for your starting quarterback, okay? Last year I had drafted Jared Goff because he was coming off of a great 2018. I wound up, getting rid of him for the future MVP Lamar Jackson that I got 2 rounds later. So this is just an indication that you might need to step away from Jared Goff. So try to look for one of these other guys that are out here on free agents, okay? And we see Taysom Hill here makes an appearance in the stat sheet. Nothing surprising, but it does. This is one of those thorns in the side. And if you listen to the show before, I've told you to lay off the Saints players. I told you the regression was coming for Michael Thomas. I said maybe lay off a Kamara. Kamara didn't make my top 4, or actually not my top 4, but top 4 performances. And we're going to go ahead and look at running backs real quick. Look, the quarterback situation, guys, the top 3 are no surprises. There's 2 in the top half of the stat sheet that do surprise Josh Allen. It's surprising that he got that many points. It's not surprising that it was against the Jets. Mitch Trubisky, absolutely stunned, but it was against the Lions. So let's not overreact. Let's pump the brakes here, give it a couple of weeks and see where these 2 quarterbacks are. And then with Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, look, it was an off week, okay? Rivers, I would be more concerned about because it was against the Jags. Prescott, it was against the Rams. The Rams actually do have a good defense. I mean, they have a lot of, they got a lot of big names, but they do have a good squad. Drew Brees against the Bucs. Look, it's the Bucs. It was opening day. He's 40-something years old. Give him a minute to, get things rolling here, okay? So we're gonna, let him. We're gonna let him cook like Russell Wilson did. Brees is gonna have his games. But like I said, the thorn in the side for Brees owners is going to be Mitch Trubisky, okay? So you might want to look at, if you know somebody out there who's looking to trade for Brees, you might want to go ahead and research that a little bit, okay, guys? As far as running backs go, the top, 6, really there's half and half, surprises and not surprises. Josh Jacobs, we knew he was going to be good. We didn't know he was going to be this good. 93 yards, and nobody had over 100 yards rushing. Okay, 93 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 receptions for 46 yards. Gave him 35 points total. Look, not bad. Okay, and this is PPR format. Okay, guys? So, Christian McCaffrey, last year, he was putting up 30, 40 points like it was nothing on a consistent basis. Now, we see him 96 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 38 yards, gave him 28 points. That's about what we expect. We expect that from Christian McCaffrey. We were anticipating this for Josh Jacobs, for him to be a little more involved in the passing game. I would look for him to be about 5 or 6 receptions, look for him to be about, that 40 to 60 yard range, and right around there for rushing yards. So this is something that I believe that you should come to expect from Josh Jacobs. This is everything that we've been seeing in camp. This is everything we've been hearing about in the offseason. So this isn't that big of a surprise. Christian McCaffrey, not that big of a surprise. Now, here's my big surprise. Raheem Mostert, nobody probably thought that he was going to be top of the board as far as in running backs. The only reason he is, and this is something that owners, like myself, have to keep in mind, is that when they start getting the receivers back, because they're missing Brandon Ayuk, okay, they're missing Deebo Samuel, okay, They're running the game through Kittle, and they're running the passing game through Raheem Mostert, apparently. He had 4 catches, 95 yards, and a TD, only 56 yards rushing. So they're not running the ball that much, okay? Now, a lot of people out there might say, oh, well, they're using Tevin Coleman. Look, where's Tevin Coleman on this list? We're going to have to scroll down a little bit to find him. But Raheem Mostert this week, great surprise. Loved him for my squad. Zeke, last night in a losing effort, 96 yards and a touchdown. 3 receptions, 31 yards through the air, and another TD gives him 27 points. You're happy if you get this. And this is one of those things where it doesn't matter that they lost. It matters how they performed. And that's something that new fantasy owners have to get used to. You guys have got to get used to not looking at the score, but looking at who and how they scored. Okay? So how did Zeke get those points? How did the Cowboys get 14 points? Okay, did they get 14 points because Dak rushed it in and you're going against Dak? Or did they get 14 points because he threw one to Zeke and then Zeke ran another one in and you have Zeke in your starting lineup? These are things that you need to pay attention to. Nyheim Hines. Look, Nyheim Hines was probably on everyone's bench and he went and got 27 points for you. You're sitting there going, oh, my God, I've got to start Nyheim Hines. Hold on, wait a minute, because Marlon Mack got hurt, guys. What does that mean? That means that there's going to be a split now between Jonathan Taylor, who they paid a really high draft price for, and Nyheim Hines. Hines is going to be used in the passing game. Jonathan Taylor, we had reports coming out of the camp that he had a problem with the passing game, that he had a problem with the dropsies. So if they come up against a defense who's really weak against the rush, you might see a little more of Jonathan Taylor as opposed to Nyheim Hines. But remember, this is also Phillip Rivers, and this is Mr. Checkdown. So if you're looking for a streaming option, Nyheim Hines looks like from week 1 that he could be the guy to stream. Maybe not to on an every week basis. Look at the matchup. It was against Jacksonville, 28 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. What does that mean? That means that he took advantage of his opportunity. 8 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Now, look, if you've got 8 receptions and you've only got 45 yards, okay, that's only like 4 yards a reception. So these are checkdowns. These are, boom, I got in trouble from Phillip. Can't find anyone downfield. He hasn't clicked with Paris Campbell. He hasn't clicked with T.Y. Hilton yet. So he's checking it down to Nyheim Hines. He hasn't found Jack Doyle yet as tight end. So who's he going to? He's going to what he knows. And this is what made Austin Eckler, and we're going to talk about him in a minute, so great in San Diego or in L.A. when he was with the Chargers. Now, we're going to go down here also. Right below Nyheim Hines, we see Malcolm Brown. Nobody, including myself, thought that Malcolm Brown was going to be atop the fantasy list for running backs going into week 1, okay, or actually coming out of week 1. So what does this mean? This means that there's going to be a lot of people going out there picking up Malcolm Brown because that's who they think that the Rams are going to go with. They think that they're going to go with Malcolm Brown. They're going to leave Cam Akers alone. Look, like I've said, this is overreaction Monday, okay? Overreaction Monday means that you're going to look at guys who you had absolutely nothing on your radar for them, and you're going to go out and try to drop somebody that you probably should have kept and get these guys, and they're going to fall off. Remember my week 1 darlings. Remember the guys who performed outrageously in week 1, a la T.J. Hawkinson for Detroit last year, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was absolutely out of his mind. You had Sammy Watkins go off for 48 points last year, and everybody was just like, oh my gosh, Sammy Watkins is going to be phenomenal. And then he disappears until right around playoff time. So pump the brakes. It's only week 1. If you are going into Monday night and you're relying on Roethlisberger, Juju, Deontay Johnson, Eric Ebron, the Pittsburgh defense, if you're relying on Saquon, if you're relying on the Tennessee defense, if you're relying on Derrick Henry, if you're relying on A.J. Brown, look, depending upon how close your contest is and how many people you have to go against, yeah, you can win. You can pull this out. It's not over yet. You still got the Monday night games. You got 2 of them this week, okay? If you're done, if you've played all the guys you're going to play and you're down, start looking ahead to week 1 or to week 2. Look at your matchups, start doing the research, see who you're matching up against, and see how they did week 1. This is where you start looking back and looking at past performances to dictate future results, okay? How are they using guys like Nyheim Hines? How are they using Zeke? How are they using Raheem Mostert, okay? If you have a choice to make in your lineup, hit me up on Twitter at FantasyDean20 for all your questions. You can hit me up down bottom. Just leave a comment. So hopefully my boy Pez is out there watching this. Pez, how you doing, my man? We're doing what you said. He left a comment down bottom. He said, hey, you know what would be great is let's talk about the guys who surprised us. So we're talking about the guys who surprised us, like Nyheim Hines, like Raheem Mostert, like Malcolm Brown. And we're talking about the guys who we pretty much knew was going to be good. We just didn't know they were going to be that good, like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs, CMC. All these guys we knew were going to be big. We just didn't know how big. So I want you guys to take solace in the fact that it's just week 1. And we look down here, and guys, I know after Thursday night game, everybody who drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire was running around going, I told you, he's going to be great. He's going to be phenomenal. Hold on, wait a minute. It's the Texans. Take a deep breath. They're not the same defense that they used to be. Did he have a great game? Yes, he's probably the only running back who had over 100 yards so far. We've still got Saquon, and we still got Derrick Henry. So he had 138 yards, but why isn't he at the top? Let's go to the top and find out. If you go up here, look at that touchdowns. CEH only had 1. Josh had 3. And he almost had 100 yards. Plus he had 4 receptions. So there's 4 points right there. Okay? If you're playing PPR, you have to understand that plays into your score here, okay? We look up passing in the front. He was not used in the passing game. He didn't have a single reception. He was targeted twice. He didn't have any catches, okay? So it might take him and Mahomes a minute to kind of figure each other out. He's definitely a dynamic runner. We saw that on Thursday night. We saw David Johnson. Look, David Johnson, 77 yards and a touchdown. Okay, so let's go up here. Yeah, 3 receptions, 32 yards. So we see that David Johnson is being used passing game, and he has 10 yards per reception average. Okay, that's awesome. That's great. That's what you want to see. What does that mean? That means that he's actually running a purposeful route where they're setting up. It's not a dump down like it was for Nyheim Hines. Okay, he's not getting. If he had 8 reception, if David Johnson had 8 reception, you're looking at another 80 yards. He would have probably been the number 1 running back this week. Okay, we see Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones at 17 points. That's a low average for what you were expecting. And this is what we're talking about when we say guys who are bust. I'm not calling Aaron Jones a bust yet, but what I'm saying is that if you're going to draft him first, second round, you expect this to basically be the bottom for Aaron Jones. So you expect no less than 17 points from him, regardless of who he's playing. Now we're going to go down here. And here are a couple of guys who you probably weren't expecting to see this low. Kenyon Drake, Todd Gurley. You see these guys down here, and if you were trying to believe in these guys, if you were trying to believe in Todd Gurley, then you know that this is not the result you were looking for. 13 points, almost 14 out of Todd Gurley is not acceptable for where you were drafting him or what you were expecting. Same thing with Kenyon Drake. 14.5 points is not what you're expecting from Drake. You're expecting a 20-point performance from Kenyon Drake, okay? Let's go down a little bit more. And we see Madison got in here a couple of times, had 50 yards. He had 4 receptions for 30 yards. Not too bad. Zach Moss got into the game. DeAndre Swift. Look, DeAndre Swift could have been a little bit better. He dropped a pass in the end zone that could have put him up in the game, could have won the game for him. But didn't. He had, let's see. He had 8 yards and a touchdown, 3 receptions for 15 yards. Could have been 4 receptions for about 20 yards and another TD, which would have put him up a little higher. Might have actually put him on more people's radar. And we see Kareem Hunt here. Look, we knew Kareem Hunt going in was going to get timeshare, and we haven't even talked about Nick Chubb. Okay? So, if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think Nick Chubb he didn't even make this side of the top 25. So we look at the next slot. Look, there's Nick Chubb right there. That is not what you were expecting from Nick Chubb, given it was Baltimore's defense, but 5.6 points is nowhere near what you were expecting for a second round. And this is pretty much where you're drafting him. He was falling to the second round, maybe the first round, depending upon your draft. If you really believed in Nick Chubb, you were not expecting this kind of poor performance from him. Okay? Let's go up to the top here and see who just missed. Devin Singletary, Ronald Jones this is not the performance that you're wanting from Ronald Jones. You see Josh Adams actually performed exactly the same. Devin Singletary just barely outperformed him. Myles Gaskin. Look, these guys are not going to be guys that you're going to want to run out and go get. But Ronald Jones performing this poorly in fantasy, this is a red flag for you guys, okay? So if you see him out there, there's running back by committee. There's 4 other running backs. You saw them use Fournette. You saw them use Shady, McCoy, LaShawn McCoy for those who don't know. But I'm telling you guys, I said it before, I'll say it again. Lay off the Brady hype train. Jump before it makes its next stop, okay? Because this is not going to end well for the Bucs, okay? Let's check out wide receivers real quick. Now, I didn't have this guy in this league, but I did have him in one of my other leagues. Devontae Adams just killed it, and so did Calvin Ridley. Now, the guys you see here at the top, these top 3, we're not really that surprised. Adam Thielen might be a little, eyebrow raised. Might get, hey, how'd that happen? Against Green Bay? How'd that happen? Look, the Green Bay secondary is not all that great, but Kirk Cousins is an absolutely phenomenal quarterback. You guys know I love him from his days back in Washington when he was Captain Kirk, and I love him. He's my boy, regardless of what team he's on. I just like the bravado. I like the performances that he dishes out. Thielen goes for 6 receptions, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams just lost his mind, okay? 156 yards, 14 touches, and 2 touchdowns for over 40 points. He had 42.6 points. So, guys, I said it before the season started. I'll say it now. Devontae Adams is the only show in Green Bay This is going to be a scorched earth tour by Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is upset, and when Aaron Rodgers is upset, it's awesome for fantasy. It's horrible for the NFC North. So watch out, Chicago. Watch out, Minnesota. And I'm drawing a blank on who else is up there. But whoever's up there, guys, look, it's not going to be pretty for the NFC North. All right. Now we're going to go down here. We see, like I said, we see Calvin Ridley. We don't see Julio. We see Julio a little bit lower. If Julio had have had a touchdown, Julio had more yardage with just as many receptions. That's about what normally happens. He's going to find the end zone. He's going to have that one game where he has 3 touchdowns, and then he disappears from the end zone for the rest of the season. But from a PPR standpoint, he is absolutely phenomenal. The only thing is that you paid probably a 5th round or a 4th round pick for Calvin Ridley, and you had to pay up at rounds 1 or 2 for Julio. Russell Gage was also a guy who got in on the action, but as we saw, this is what happens when we talked about this last time, the term negative game script comes into play here. Negative game script is probably what Atlanta is going to be playing in, and that is phenomenal for fantasy receivers and fantasy quarterbacks. What's not good for fantasy receivers is a positive game script, but that is good if you have a good running back. Okay, if you have a workhorse running back, a positive game script where they're ahead, where they're leading. If you look at the Tennessee game tonight, if they are winning, you're going to see Derrick Henry get the ball a lot. Okay. The only problem with Tennessee is that if they're losing, they're also handing it to Derrick Henry. So it's great for Derrick Henry owners. We see Scanling down here. He got in on the action with 4 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. So there's a lot of points to go around. They scored 43 of them. They had to go somewhere else. So, Will Fuller. Look, there's people out there pulling their hair out going, what am I going to do with Will Fuller? Will Fuller is an absolute enigma to try to hammer down for fantasy. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And these kind of performances lull you into a sense of security, okay? Last year, he got hurt. He disappeared. He came back. He was all over the place, okay? Take these games. If you started him, take them and run with them and just enjoy the fact that you got him, because there may not be coming too few. They're going to be coming few and far between for Will Fuller. He's going to get hurt at some point in time. Brandon Cooks is there. Okay, so they've got a couple of other guys that they can target, plus DJ coming out of the backfield. So DK Metcalf, here's another guy that we expected to do well. And when I say do well, guys, we're talking like 15-plus points. So he's got 19.5. We're going to go down here. Robert Woods, we see, got another 100-yard performance, but no touchdowns. Lazard got into the act in Green Bay. Amari Cooper, 10 receptions for 81 yards. For 10 receptions and for being the number 1 in Dallas, this should have been a lot better. This should have been 10 receptions, probably 110 yards, and throwing a TD there. He should have been at the top. He should have done a lot better than what he did, okay? Now, I know you guys down here, you see, Hollywood Brown, and you see Willie Snead. Willie Snead only outperformed Hollywood because he got that touchdown. You take that touchdown away and you put him in Hollywood's spot, and Hollywood's at the top. He's at over 20 points. Tyreek Hill. I know a lot of guys out there, they're looking at Tyreek, and they paid up big time for him. This is a bust game for somebody in with that kind of draft capital behind him. Chris Godwin. Godwin disappointed. Okay, the whole Bucs offense is not clicking. I don't know what it's going to do. And look, if you guys watch this game, you know that Brady's going to hone in on one guy. That one guy is looking like Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller is nowhere near the talent that Chris Godwin is. But here's the thing that we're forgetting. And you're like, well, what are we forgetting? We're forgetting that this isn't Jameis Winston. They don't have to throw for five. He didn't have to throw for 5,000 yards. Okay. Brady's not Winston. And I said this before. I said this before we got drafting. He's not Winston. Don't look for that negative game script to be in play that much. Don't look for that sense of desperation coming from the Bucs. They've got Brady. They have all their eggs in this basket. They're bringing everybody in to win now. The only problem is they had no preseason. They haven't had a chance to work on anything. So they're not going to be as well-oiled a machine as people like, the Saints, teams like KC. Okay. They're adding very few pieces. KC added Clyde Edwards-Helaire. New Orleans added Emmanuel Sanders. That's it. With Tampa, they added Tom Brady, key position. Okay. So they brought in Gronk, brought in some pieces in the backfield. They're not really sure where they're going yet, and it's going to take them a minute to go ahead and, get it together. So, like I said, we see Cooper Kupp down here at the bottom, under a 10-point performance. That's disappointing. Let's go up here to the top. We see Jarvis Landry, barely over a 10-point performance. That's disappointing. But again, it was the Ravens defense. So we see Scott Miller here. Scott Miller, 5 catches, 73 yards. For somebody who is not even on anyone's radar, that's pretty decent. We see Allen Robinson down here. 5 catches, 74 yards. The average is there. The average is good. Okay. What's missing is the touchdown. DJ Shark, 3 catches, 25 yards, and a TD. Okay. Their games are going to come. Robinson's gonna perform. DJ Shark is going to perform. Terry McLaurin, go down here, 5 catches, 61 yards. That's over 10 yards of reception. That's good. Okay. They're going to get better. Okay. And this is the thing. When you start out really high, the only place to come is down. If you start out lower, below expectations, the only place to go is up. So, guys, it's week 1. Remember, take the season in the chunks that is divided up into. Take it for the first 4 games, and then the next 4 games, and then the next 4 games. And pretty soon, before you know it, you'll be fine, okay? So, guys, I know a lot of you out there probably have questions. You might be hitting the panic button, but look, hold up, stop, wait a minute, okay? I don't want you guys to go out there and panic just yet, okay? Hitting the waiver wire right now, week 1, pardon me, a little water. Hitting the panic button week 1 is not what I want you guys to do, okay? What I want you guys to do, and we're going to take the share away real quick. I want you guys to regroup. I want you guys to look at doing environmental roster management, okay? Environmental roster management is the same thing as environmental drafting. You're looking at, instead of the conditions surrounding the players, the matchup with the players. Play your matchups, okay? This is one thing that rookie fantasy owners don't do. They look at the name, and then they think they can play them regardless of the matchup. Not always the case. You have to look at the matchups. So what am I going to do for you guys? On Wednesday, Wednesday morning, or I'm sorry, not Wednesday morning, on Thursday morning, okay, or Tuesday, oh, I did tomorrow morning. I'm getting my days mixed up. I got a really hectic schedule this week, guys. Sorry. Tomorrow, we're going to talk week 2. We're going to review Monday night. We're going to look at the week to come, and we're going to help you guys set up your rosters for this coming week. Look, if you guys are out there and you have questions, like I said, down the bottom, subscribe, like, and share for me. I would like to thank Zia of Lafayette for sponsoring our draft when we had it. We had it on the 8th. Shout out to my boy D Money that turned big old 21. So hope he had a good time. I know he came to work the day after with kind of a little hangover. So apparently he did it upright. So wanted to give a shout out. The food was amazing. It was awesome. I'll be posting some pictures on Twitter as a thank you. And I want to thank Keller's Bakery in Youngsville. Thank you guys for the sweets. Appreciate it. They were awesome. They were phenomenal. So if you guys are in the Youngsville area, go down to 627 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway. You can find Keller's on Facebook. You can place orders through their messaging system there. And if you tell them that the Dean sent you, you get 2 free cookies with your order. So go down there, get your little sweet deal. And if you're in the Lafayette area, you're down off of Johnson Street on Doucette Road, right behind the Grand Theater. You're going to find Zia of Lafayette, who sponsored our draft. We're now into phase 3 in Lafayette in Louisiana, so we're going to 75% capacity, if I'm not mistaken. So go in. We got more room to seat you guys. Go down there and see Heath and Tucker and Leonard, all the guys down there. Tell them the Dean sent you. Tell them I said hi, and we'll hope to see you soon, guys. Look, for Fantasy Football Academy 2020, I've been the Dean, and this has been Overreaction Monday. Guys, whatever you do, don't overreact. Calm down. Breathe. Look at your roster. Remember, there's always next week. Okay? Guys, take it easy. Take care of each other. And remember, mask up if you're going out. Still in effect. So keep yourself safe. Keep each other safe. And we'll see you guys next time on Fantasy Football Academy 2020.